Hey guys, and welcome to Single in the City. I'm Marchell Sade.
And I'm Marchell Sade.
And today we're sitting with Kent. Hi, Kent. Kent is from Jersey.
Kent, Jersey in the house.
Yes, okay. And he's here to drop the knowledge on us.
He dropping gems, y'all.
What?
The gems.
Yes.
You gotta listen up.
The topic is energy. So, Kent, we can't wait. We just need to know.
Let's get to it.
Because we're studying energy.
Yes.
We want to know everything there is. We want to improve ourselves and everything.
So interested.
Well, I'm not certified.
Of course not.
I'm not certified.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. I'm not certified, but I did a lot of studying with energy in the holistic sense.
Right.
I'm a musician, and being in contact with a lot of people, traveling all around the world. As a young man, I learned everything that I know by doing everything wrong.
Right.
Because you do everything wrong first.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I became a contractor. I learned the mechanics of electricians and the connection between electricity and what people perceive as spiritual energy.
Right.
Because we deal with energy in a spiritual sense. People go by a feeling,
Right.
an intuition,
Mm-hmm.
a sixth sense, bad feeling, good feeling.
Right.
We use energy in that sense.
Bad energy, good energy,
Exactly.
good vibes.
Good vibes. Vibe is the key word
Right.
that people use to relate to energy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, energy really is a thing.
Right.
We tell people to talk positively to plants because the energy it receives.
Mm-hmm.
Plants are a sentient being, meaning it breathes. You have to give it water. We have to have water.
Right.
You have to give it sunlight. We have to have sunlight. Plants are just as sentient as humans are.
Okay.
And when it comes to energy, a plant will feed off of your energy if you take care of it, if you feed it, and in some respects, people tell you to speak positively to the plant as it's a living thing, but it
Yeah.
really is a living thing.
Right.
And if you study electricity on a scientific level, electricity is gauged in how it's transferred. And when you think of the human body and how electricity relates to the human body on a molecular level, electricity will make a human physiology a conduit. If you touch an electrical switch,
Right.
it will go through you, and if you keep your finger there, it could stop your heart, because your heart is moved on electrical charges. Right?
Okay.
So we say vibe, energy, feeling, when in actuality, all things, the atmosphere, the floor, marble, the table, all of these things have a molecular structure. And energy can be transferred as easily as turning a switch on and off, like electricity.
Right.
So, if a person, and I've experienced this because I'm a husband, I'm a dad, my wife used to tell me, if I walked in the house cross, and she's from the islands, so she has very, very expressive. She says, if you come in the house with bad attitude, you bring that whole thing into the house and spread it.
Right.
And then the dog and the kids and everything is going wrong because here you come with your bad energy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She's energy based on everything. Start off with positive energy.
Yes.
And then you can direct the traffic on everything else. So I believe that people should remember that when you come in contact with people and you get this intuition. And I think intuition, for me, really is God, the God in you, speaking to you, where chakras and all of that energy transfer back and forth is actually trying to be your inner guide.
Right.
When you speak to a person who has ill planned for you, and you decide without just understanding energy transfer, that you come in contact with them, you touch them,
Yes.
and they touch you, and whether before you know it, they have an electrical charge in them. And that electrical charge in them before they touch you is affected by their negativity.
Right.
So they transfer it to you. So here you go now, carrying it around, and you might be happy, have a really good day going, and all of a sudden I don't
Feels
I don't
so
feel
good.
So you have to understand that it goes all the way down to the scientific level of transfer. And I believe, this is me, and I probably will get in trouble for saying this, because of how people assign genders to each other.
Right.
Like I'm gonna, because I'm in Atlanta, so be careful. I'm in Atlanta. So I know on an emotional level that women have the capacity, because they're such strong beings, they have the capacity to carry emotions and are willfully wanting to express themselves openly, more so than men.
Right.
That women have the capacity to express themselves without reservation, because the masculinity factor in expressing yourself doesn't limit them to it. And men tend to, and not all men, men tend to guard it. Men are taught to be hunters
Right.
and protectors,
Yeah.
and women,
their feelings.
and women are taught to be nurturers
Right.
and caregivers. That caregiving and nurturing doesn't limit them to expression
Yeah.
willfully and freely. Men sometimes not knowing, or men who have an objective to do something or to gain advantage to something, not knowing that they transfer the energy that they carry.
Trauma.
Trauma. And us as a people being more open about that and not willing to deal with it. You carry energy of your trauma, your past trauma. And when you carry that, and unconsciously not knowing that you're carrying your past.
Yes. Let's talk about it.
when you carry trauma from your childhood,
Right.
and if you as a man, all men, especially men of color, we're expected to be hyper masculine. The image that is portrayed in the media is that being hyper masculine means you don't have any relations with emotion. You just have to take care of business and the trauma of our people,
Right.
coupled along with that trauma of the inner city, if you have that background. If you didn't have that background, then I can't even speak on it. I'm only speaking from personal experience. But hypermasculinity, not dealing with the things in your childhood that may have affected you, and then you subconsciously carry them along, and they become toxic.
Right.
That word we all know.
Yeah.
And then it becomes all kinds of things because it's been sitting with you for a while, and it's been stewing, and it's been transforming into this thing and that, and the other things that you grab along the way that help you become more toxic.
Yeah.
Relationships.
That's why it's so important to heal, even for our children in relationships or whatever. Just coming into contact with people is so important to recognize
Healing.
what's going on, and
People,
heal that.
people, I think people of color have our own in-house issue that we don't want everybody to know.
Yeah, we're ashamed,
We're ashamed.
especially men. They just
And we have the history. The history of men having control taken away from them.
they're
as
vulnerable.
And being vulnerable, we couldn't protect a woman who could be taken at any time from the slave master. Our children could be taken away. So we were never in a position of control. And people need to remember that part of our history is very small compared to our full history, because you had royalty ruling the land, civilization, hygiene, everything. We invented all of this, and then you had slavery. And in this period, where we are in America, this small period affects us greatly how we deal with each other here in America. Past trauma, coming from where I come from, can shape you, and it can take control of you, or if you are open to get help, you can learn to master oneself and your emotional capacity to be a better person. I believe that people can only change first if they are honest with themselves as to how they see themselves. And it may not be true fully. It may not transfer and translate how you see yourself and how people see you. But if you're willing to
Acknowledge the problem
acknowledge the problem
and not be in denial.
And my ancestors told me that what happens to you is not the sticking point. What you choose to do with something after it happens
Right.
is how you move forward.
Yeah.
You take the trauma and you mix that along with your past childhood, whether it be good or bad, your experience in contact with people, mostly the negative contact with people. We tend to remember the negative contact, and we foster it, and we hold it,
and anxiety,
and we paint it, and we give it a nickname, and we put it in our pocket, and we carry it around, and those things manifest themselves into bad experiences, bad character, bad judgment, and misbehavior.
Yeah.
And if we are true to ourselves, because I'm not telling anybody anything that I haven't done. I'm on my second marriage.
Okay.
And I love this woman.
Right.
Because when she met me, I told her, I said, listen, I don't know if you even want to buy this package.
Right.
Like, it looks good, but I'm telling you, the insides are kind of rotten. And she said, no, I need you to be honest with yourself first.
She already knew.
She said, I need you to be honest with yourself. She said, I know there's a good person hiding in here, but you have to deal with that person. You have to be able or want to let the good person take charge in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And I fought with that a lot. After all of my mistakes, making mistake after mistake, I mean, talking about women making all kinds of mistakes, I said, you know what, let me call one of my sisters. All right, so this is what I did.
Get a female perspective. You can change if you want to.
Yeah.
You know, if you're stubborn and you don't want to heal and you don't want to recognize the issues, then okay, they will remain.
Yeah.
And you will keep, pushing people away basically and attracting those things.
I want to interject.
Uh-huh.
So, Kent, you said a couple things that kind of hit home. So you went to your sister, and I think that was the greatest thing you did, because when you go to France, when you go to, they kind of biased, they kind of, even if it's a girl that's your, even if it's a girl that's your friend, they still biased.
They'll be on your team anyway.
Right. You got to get somebody who's going to keep it real. Maybe sister might not keep it real, but if you know somebody who's going to tell you, hey, you're wrong or you're right, and just be real to you, that's the person, that's your go-to person.
Yeah, like me. I keep it real all the time. Anytime she comes to me with her stuff,
This
Too real.
I don't be biased and I let
She's
her
like
know.
raw with it though. She's just like raw, you know. And I'm just like, oh, can you just tone it down a little bit? Can you just keep it nice?
I have a range. I have a different.
Like, yes, man. I hate the yes man. Just tell me what it is. I want to be real. I'm the realest person ever. I'm going to give it to you raw. Just give it to me raw. You know, come from New York, you're going to keep it real.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Straight up.
one thing I just want to ask you that is very important that the audience know this. What made you decide to settle down after being a musician, running around with different women? You decided, this is my wife.
Okay.
That and
Wait.
what made you decide that you wanted to say, I want to address these issues that's going on
Yeah.
with me?
Okay.
Let's start with that one first.
Okay. So I decided to be super single. I wasn't just regular single. I put a cape on.
Super single. I ain't heard that
I
one
was
yet.
so
That's me right
single. I had the Superman S on, and what I had learned was I was learning to be open. It's like, listen, I'm not just dating you.
You was keeping it real.
I'm gonna date 5 million people this week, and that real. I was just not gonna lie. I said, I don't want you coming to slash my tires. If you're okay with dating,
This is what it is.
and I'm
Take it or
okay
leave
with
it.
dating, I'm gonna do this, and you can't trap me in a relationship. I don't care what kind of net you have, it's not gonna work. I'm super single, it's gonna disintegrate. Right?
You can't do nothing but respect that. We need more of that.
But listen, but I kept all the toxic traits.
Oh, see, now you
Right.
just a narcissist.
That's right. That's right.
No.
That's right. And I was a narcissist because I never took someone else's feelings into consideration.
Yeah.
It was only for the benefit of what I wanted.
Right.
And I didn't know because I watched my dad. My dad every day made a proclamation. This is what we're doing or else. That's it.
That's it.
Bottom line, old school. Old
Yeah.
school, old school, old school.
Right.
And I translated that into being in control, and that's what men have to do. You have to be in control of everything around.
Right.
So I carried the toxic traits into dating, and I did all the wrong things in dating.
Okay.
And one of the girls that I dated said to me, you know what, I may not be your wife, but you're going to have to get your act together before you become a real man. And I was like, what?
Wow.
I am a real man.
That was deep.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So was
That
she
deep.
the one that opened that
No,
door?
she was not.
Oh.
She was not the one, but she said it to me.
Well,
Right.
to open up your mind to think.
And I thought about
Yeah.
it. And when I met my future wife, I was at the bottom I was done with relationships. I had stopped shaving, let my hair grow. I don't have a lot of hair.
You're like,
I had an
I don't
afro, a beard growing out here.
Wait. Stop there.
Uh-huh.
I need to know why were you done with relationships?
Because I felt like I was a hamster in a wheel.
Okay.
And I felt like there was no
Same
end.
cycle.
There was no end in
Same
sight because you don't, when Christmas comes
I
around,
feel you.
when Valentine's
Yep.
Day comes around, when traditional goofball holidays
Right.
come around, where everybody is paired up and loved up,
Buddha,
He's like, yeah.
you're alone.
I was by myself.
By
Oh,
yourself.
I'm happy about
Because you're
myself.
super single.
I don't care.
You're
I'm
super single.
by
It's just a
myself.
day. It's
That's
just
right.
a day.
I'll wait for the holidays to pass and then I'm back to business. You know.
Right.
But I met my future wife, and I told her, I said, like, if you needed a bottle of toxic, I'm the bottle of toxic.
Right.
Wow, and she signed up immediately.
She's like, look,
You know what? She saw something in you.
she did. She said to me, I know there's a good person hiding in there.
Mhm.
Right.
Deal with that.
Right.
And you can call me anytime you want. If you want somebody to talk to, call me. Right? So we went on a date. I invited her to a show. I was a touring musician. The band was in town. I said, I want you to come to a show.
Right.
And I invited her to a show in Queens, New York. And I went to pick her up. She looked beautiful. She was beautiful.
Right.
She was all dressed up. And I said, wow, she got dressed up for me?
Right.
What? Every other date I've ever been on, like, well, where we going to eat? I want something to eat. Where we going? But she got dressed up and was very elegant.
Right.
And I took her to the show. We did the show. And before the show started, I took her backstage.
Right.
And before we went fully backstage, she slowed me. She said, Ken, come here. And I said, I want you to meet the guys backstage. She said, come here. I said, what? She said, give me your hand. I was like, why? She said, I want to hold your hand. And I was like, you want to hold my hand? So she grabbed my hand. She said, okay, now let's go. Now introduce me.
Right.
And I took her around to people. So one of my really good friends who was a terrible womanizer also, I said, I want you to meet Ann, my future wife. And she was, what? What? And I was like, what? Who just said said that. I was like, what? Did I just say that?
No, that's not how it happened.
I'm telling you, that's exactly how it happened. If you get her in here, she'll tell you. She said,
What? I said that?
yeah, she said, Kent, she looked at me, because this is our first date.
Right.
She said, what? And I was like, what the? And he looked at me, he said, what did you just say? I was like, oh my God, I don't know. What in the world did I do? I didn't know what I said. I was like, okay, all right, calm down. All right. She was like, Kent, like, it's the first date. You need to relax.
Right.
I was like, I don't know what made me say, I'm sorry. After the show, I took her home, and I gave her a kiss. And I was like, can I come upstairs? She was like, no.
Guys always try. Just know.
Listen.
If you want it to be no.
Listen, she said nope. She said nope.
That's the
Right.
test.
She said-
That's the test.
She said there'll be time for that, Ken. But no.
That's
no.
right.
And I was like, all right, well, like, listen, because then I had to start. Let me pull out
Yeah.
some kind of game to get.
Right.
I gotta get upstairs, man.
Right.
She was like, Ken, listen, you are a good guy.
Right.
I will see you again. Mm-hmm. And I was like, got in the car and drove off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I called her the day after,
Yeah.
and she said, hey, I wanted to tell you I had a good time. She said, sometime this week, she worked on Wall Street. My wife was a broker, stock broker on Wall Street.
Oh, wow.
And then she went into reinsurance. But she said, Kent, sometime this week, give me a call. Meet me for lunch.
Right.
So I went by her job and met her. And I was late. And she said, Ken, you're late. Like, what if this was a really important event? This is like us meeting.
Right.
You're late. It meant that much to her. She said, Ken, I had it all planned out. We was going to go something to eat here. But at this time in New York, it's going to be too late. We can't do it. She said, do me a favor. Start planning your life out. She dropped another one on me, like, and
You
I'm
two
starting.
together.
Yeah, she started dropping them on me, like,
Yeah,
start planning your life out.
good.
So I was like, so I go back on the train. Who did she tell me? I got a little upset. I'm like, dude, she's really slowly trying to control my life here. Like, what's going on? One day I was in the city we both lived in, and I saw her jogging. And I guess she was doing the math on me. She was jogging, and I saw her, and she saw me, but she ran right past me. And I said, all right, I'm going to sit here.
Like this dude.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit down. And when she was done, she came over. She said, hey, I saw you. I got a schedule to keep with this running. So
She didn't stop her life.
yeah,
That's
so
right.
I was like, what? No, what? She said, can you do me a favor? Why don't you work on being a person that somebody can love? When she said that, I was so mad at her. I was like, hell no, nobody's ever told me that before.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is how you get them.
Right.
You lay the law. That's what you do, because that's what she was doing.
She was.
She said, I'm not going to tolerate this.
No. She wasn't allowing any toxicity into her life. She said, whether we get together or not, I want you to be better. I had been working on myself. I didn't tell her.
In a sense, that's like a challenge.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people who were invested in my well-being.
Right.
This was a couple of months after I met her mom. I said, you think you want to get married? She said, maybe. I was like, yeah.
She's
She
playing.
was like, maybe.
Maybe she...
Well, you know, I think she said maybe because you did not ask her in the correct way.
Right.
Yeah. So listen.
Yeah.
Her dad came up to visit from Florida.
Uh-huh.
Her dad made me sit down, and he brought out Jamaican rum.
Right.
He trying to get you drunk. He said, you about to tell it all.
He
Let's
said,
know
listen,
about you.
I got some rum. Sit down. He said, you love Anne, huh? I said, yeah, I love your dog.
That sounds just like them.
Yeah.
You got the little
You love
accent.
Anne, huh? I said, yeah, I do. I love your dog. He said, so what are your plans? I said, I think he's asking me to ask him.
Right.
I said, Mr. Peters, I would like to know if it's okay that I ask your daughter's hand in marriage. He said, finish your rum first. says, all right, man, all right. Make sure you go get a ring.
Right. Go get
Right,
a ring.
go get a ring.
I went and got it. And I was like, look, all right, so we done been through the toxic period, through the working on me period.
Right.
You wouldn't let me up in your apartment. I'm asking you to marry me. And she said yes. And we celebrate this November 2nd. It would be 20 years.
Wow.
This
Wow.
November 2nd. Yeah.
Yes.
What's your
it's
sign?
20 years.
I'm a Leo.
Leo.
But yeah.
But let's touch on the energy. You yourself is a temple,
Yes.
and you gotta watch like who you let into your temple.
Exactly.
Because you're exposing yourself, especially when your sleep was on. It's like you're exposing yourself
That's
big
the most
time.
rawest form.
Yeah, and I want to get back to when you touch. So even when you meet someone and you're shaking their hand,
Yeah.
I've had an older man told me before, like before you shake anyone's hand, before you go into meetings, before anything, say a quick prayer before you touch.
Yes.
Because they said
What that prayer is. What's that
anything,
prayer?
anything that's just quick. not-
To
that's
spiritually
quick
ground you.
prayer.
No
And your
weapon formed
energy.
against me shall
Just
prosper.
make sure that
I need
if they
scripture.
have intentions or
Gotcha.
anything that they went through before you got there,
Okay.
you know, you gotta make sure that that doesn't come off on you.
Because you meet people who are functioning psychotics, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
could meet
yeah.
someone who, before that meeting, murdered someone.
Yeah.
Came to the meeting, full functioning psychotic, and now he's pretending like
Yeah.
everything's fine. And then, like, indigenous people indigenous people are spiritually based. They believe that everything, the earth, everything, the sky, the earth, everything is a transfer of energy. And they don't believe that we die. They believe it's just a transfer of being.
Reincarnation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Transfer of being meaning this level of physical being transfers to the next level of being. You know,
Yeah.
or the next level of existence.
Right.
They believe that life completely always recycles itself. So energy should be thought of as the same way. Energy is recyclable. You can recycle energy. If you stay around positive people, in the physical sense, you'd be like, well, if you stay around positive people, positive things will happen. The reason why they say that is because now you have built up this positive energy flow in this space. And when you generate a positive energy flow in this space, you are sitting in the middle, in the midst of positive energy.
Right.
So chances are you're going to receive what positive energy attracts
Right.
because the space has been filled with it.
Right.
Not just speaking it and spiritually, but you've actually physically filled the space of positive energy.
Right.
So you become a recipient of it. And it's people spiritually. There's so many ways that people translate spirituality, but astronomy is a key in understanding energy. Astronomy explains that a star and the star's composition is the same exact composition of a human body, just in different stages. A star, the sun, planets, all those things are the same thing you are. From the dust we come to the dust we return. People, when you die, and this is a little bit morbid, but when you die, your body decomposes and returns to the earth. And that's energy transferring through physical back to the composition of the earth. So all things are transferred. And when people understand that, religion, spirituality, and energy actually all live in the same house. Well, I didn't learn it from myself. I learned it from my wife. You know, because she was constantly listening to this stuff in the house. And after a while, you walk in and you're like, I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to. And then 20, 30, 40, 50 times, you're like, all right, you know what, let me listen a little bit.
That's what Denzel said. He said, you hang around the barbershop long enough, you'll get a haircut.
That's right. Carrie West once said, say to yourself in your head, rock star. He said, on 2, I'm going to have everybody say it, but not out loud, but in your head. 1, 2. You said, you heard that voice? Where does that voice come from? Your mouth wasn't moving.
Right.
That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Who is that voice?
We gotta get you to come back to that one.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah. It is.
And
It gets really deep when it comes to energy. Like,
you can find your past in your head, like a movie reel,
Yeah.
and play it back. Where does that projection come from? What level of consciousness is that? That level of understanding that there's something going on in there that makes you hear and see it.
Yep. I call it my
That-
spidey sense.
Yep. That your eyes and your mouth don't help with.
Yeah, I call it intuition.
But that, whatever that is another form of energy that works without our real true knowledge.
Right.
Consciousness, the brain is an electrode. It fires off things and it makes things happen. And when the brain fires off the wrong way, you have behavior which we classify as bad behavior. And people think that people are in control of that.
Right.
You may not be in control of bad. When your car fires off the wrong way, it doesn't drive right. The car doesn't know to do that. It's just doing wrong because it's not working right. Same way the brain works. Energy is very important. The brain works on electricity. And how it fires off either indicates to you how efficient it is or if it's not working right.
He dropped a lot on us.
Science.
This is amazing. I love it.
All the gems. It was remarkable.
Yeah, we really appreciate this. Thank you so much for coming to see us.
Thank y'all for
And we
having me.
appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in to Single in the City. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Up next on Single in the City.
I think gaslighting is probably the worst. When it comes to the music, it's like my thing.
Okay, she's trying to call me out. I don't need 2 or 3 red flags anymore. You get rid of them.
You're a trouble.